Hello, my friend. I want to tell you today you are stronger than the fear that tries to hold you back. You may not feel it right now. You may be looking at your life, at your challenges, at the mountains in front of you, and wonder, how am I ever going to get through this? But I believe deep in your heart God has already placed everything you need. You weren't created to live worried, overwhelmed, or afraid. You were created to rise, to walk with confidence, to step into every day with iman, with faith that lifts you above the storms that try to break you. In Islam, we're reminded again and again, do not fear, for I am with you. When the Almighty says He is with you, that means fear has no permission to control your life. Anxiety has no authority. Doubt has no final say. Maybe fear has been whispering, you can't do it. But faith is whispering louder, Allah is enough for you. Maybe fear has been shouting, what if you fail? But faith says, what if you succeed because Allah guides your steps? Today, I want to talk about choosing faith over fear, not just as a beautiful phrase, but as a daily practice, a way of thinking, a mindset rooted in Islamic wisdom that empowers you to move with calmness, strength, and purpose. So stay with me, because when you learn to replace fearful thoughts with faithful ones, your entire life changes. You know, in life we all face moments that shake us. A problem shows up, a dream feels too big, a door closes, and suddenly fear tries to step in, telling you to worry, to shrink, to give up. But my friend, Islam teaches us something powerful. Faith is stronger than fear. Faith reminds you that Allah is the one who opens doors you can't see, who guides your steps when the path is dark, who strengthens you when you feel weak. When you choose faith over fear, you're not ignoring reality, you're trusting the one who controls reality. So today, I want to help you step into your day with courage, peace, and a heart anchored in the wisdom Allah has given us. Faith transforms fear into clarity by shifting your focus from what threatens you to the one who protects you. Fear clouds the mind, making simple challenges feel impossible and turning unknowns into imagined disasters. It magnifies problems and minimizes your strengths. But when faith enters the heart, it begins to rearrange your perspective. Instead of seeing obstacles as signs that you are alone, you begin to recognize them as opportunities placed by Allah to elevate you, strengthen you, and prepare you for something greater than you imagine. Faith doesn't remove challenges, but it removes the illusion that challenges have power over you. When you allow faith to guide your thoughts, fear loses its grip because faith brings certainty that every situation has a purpose, every delay has wisdom, and every hardship carries a hidden gift. The mind becomes clearer because you no longer waste energy imagining outcomes that Allah has never written for you. You stop trying to control everything and start trusting the one who already controls it. This trust creates mental space, emotional stillness, and a sense of direction that fear could never provide. Clarity comes from knowing who your protector is. In Islam, we learn that Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein, fully aware of every worry you carry and every fear you try to hide. When you remember this, your heart begins to settle. The things that looked overwhelming start to shrink because faith shifts your attention from the size of the problem to the greatness of the one who can solve it. You begin to see solutions you couldn't see before. You find paths that fear had blinded you to. Where fear whispered confusion, faith speaks guidance. Faith also transforms fear by grounding you in the present. Fear thrives on what ifs. What if I fail? What if I'm not good enough? What if things go wrong? Faith teaches you to focus on what is that Allah is with you right now, that He has never abandoned you, that He has already written a plan that is perfectly timed and perfectly suited for your growth. This awareness creates clarity because you stop fighting imagined battles and start walking with purpose toward the real opportunities in front of you. With faith, your decisions become clearer as well. Fear makes you hesitate, second guess, and overthink. It pushes you into a cycle of doubt that keeps you stuck. Faith pushes you forward. It reminds you to rely on Allah, Take action and trust that He will guide your steps even if the full path isn't visible yet. The clarity that faith brings is not about knowing every detail of the future. It's about knowing that whatever the future holds, Allah will equip you to handle it. Faith moves you from confusion to confidence, from panic to patience, and from fear-driven reactions to clarity-driven choices. Trust in Allah brings inner peace because it places your heart in the care of the One who never makes mistakes, never forgets you, and never withholds what is meant for you. When you truly trust Allah, your inner world begins to calm because you realize you are not navigating life alone. You are being guided, protected, and strengthened every moment, even when you cannot see it. Fear often comes from the illusion that everything depends on you, that you must control every outcome and predict every turn. But trust reminds you that your job is effort, not results. When you release the need to control what was never yours to control, the heart finally has room to rest. Inner peace grows when you accept that Allah's knowledge is perfect and His timing is flawless. What feels like a delay to you is precision to Him. What seems like a setback may actually be a setup for something better. Trust in Allah is not passive, it is an active, intentional choice to lean on Him rather than on your fears. It is choosing to believe that His wisdom extends far beyond your understanding, and that whatever He allows into your life is tailored specifically for your growth. This awareness protects your mind from spiraling into worry because you know that everything unfolding has already been measured with divine care. When you trust Allah, you stop replaying the past and stop anticipating worst-case scenarios about the future. Fear thrives in those spaces, regret and anxiety, but trust keeps you anchored in the present moment. This is where peace lives. Trust helps you remember that the same Allah who took care of you yesterday is the one taking care of you today and will continue to take care of you tomorrow. That continuity brings stability to your heart. It reminds you that your life is not random and your struggles are not pointless. They are part of a larger story designed by the One who knows every heartbeat, every prayer, every tear. Inner peace also comes when trust softens your expectations. You no longer demand that life unfold exactly as you imagine. You begin to accept that the plan Allah has for you is better than the plan you had for yourself. This acceptance removes the pressure to constantly question, compare, or rush. You make room for serenity because you understand that what is decreed for you will reach you, and what is not meant for you will pass by you, regardless of how tightly you try to hold on. That realization is liberating. Trust in Allah nurtures peace by giving you a place to turn with your fears, worries, and uncertainties. Instead of carrying the weight alone, you hand it over to the One who can carry all things. You find comfort in prayer, knowing that every whisper is heard. You find reassurance in the Quran, knowing that every verse is a reminder of His mercy. You breathe easier because your heart knows it is supported by a power far greater than any challenge you face. Courage grows when faith is practiced daily because faith is not a one-time feeling. It is a continuous choice to align your heart with trust, hope, and reliance on Allah, especially when life becomes uncertain. Courage does not suddenly appear in moments of crisis. It is built slowly, quietly, through your daily habits of belief. Every time you choose faith over doubt, even in small decisions, you strengthen the muscles of courage within you. Courage becomes the natural byproduct of a heart that consistently returns to Allah regardless of circumstances. When you feed your heart with daily reminders of Allah's presence, courage becomes easier because your fears lose their power. Fear thrives in neglect when you forget who your protector is, when you forget how many times Allah has carried you through struggles, when you overlook the blessings that surround you. But when your faith is refreshed each day through dhikr, prayer, reflection, and gratitude, fear has no room to grow. You are constantly reminding your soul that you are being watched over, guided, and supported, and this inner reassurance becomes the foundation of courage. You begin to walk with a different energy, not because everything is perfect, but because you are anchored in something unshakable. Practicing faith daily also builds courage by training you to rely on action rather than emotion. You learn that courage doesn't mean you never feel fear. It means you move forward even while fear tries to whisper in the background. Every time you pray Fajr, even when tired, you are practicing discipline. Every time you make dua in moments of uncertainty, you are practicing surrender. Every time you trust Allah's plan instead of overthinking, you are practicing emotional resilience. These small acts of faith accumulate, shaping you into someone who can face bigger challenges with a steady heart. Courage is not born from motivation. It is born from consistency. Another reason courage grows when faith is practiced daily is because faith gives you perspective. It reminds you that challenges are temporary, but the strength you gain from them is long-lasting. When you remember that Allah has promised ease after hardship, your fear begins to shrink. Problems no longer feel like permanent walls, but temporary tests designed to elevate you. This perspective shifts your response from panic to patience, from hesitation to determination. You start to see difficulties not as threats, but as opportunities to grow closer to Allah and to reveal strengths you didn't know you had. Daily faith also builds courage by connecting your heart to divine assistance. You realize you are not relying solely on your own abilities. You are relying on the one whose power is limitless. This awareness removes the pressure of having to be perfect or having to know everything. You take steps forward because you trust that Allah will guide your path, correct your missteps, and open doors you never expected. Courage becomes natural when you know that you are walking with a force far greater than fear. You step into each day with confidence, not because the journey is easy, but because your faith fuels your courage. Fear fades when you remember divine protection, because the heart can only hold one dominant belief at a time, either that you are facing life alone or that Allah is guarding every step you take. When you consciously remind yourself that the one who created the heavens and the earth is also the one watching over you, fear begins to lose its power. Fear thrives in forgetfulness. It grows when you imagine that your challenges are bigger than they truly are. But the moment you shift your awareness back to Allah's protection, the fear that once felt overwhelming starts to shrink. You realize that nothing can reach you unless He allows it, and nothing meant for you can ever be taken away by anyone else. Divine protection gives your heart a shield that fear cannot penetrate. When you internalize that Allah is Al-Hafiz, the protector, you understand that His care surrounds you in ways you can't see. You are protected in your sleep, in your travels, in moments you're unaware of danger, and in tests that could have broken you but didn't. Remembering this creates an inner stability, a sense of spiritual security that fear cannot shake. Your mind becomes calmer because you are no longer imagining worst-case scenarios. You are trusting the one who controls every scenario. You begin to walk through life with a quiet confidence, knowing that Allah's protection is more real than the fears in your mind. Fear also fades because divine protection teaches you that you are never in any situation by accident. Every place Allah has put you, every person you've encountered, every hardship or blessing you've experienced is part of a greater design. When something difficult happens, fear might immediately tell you that you are vulnerable or unlucky. But when you remember Allah's presence, you understand that what you're facing is purposeful, measured, and wrapped in His wisdom. You start to see challenges not as threats, but as carefully crafted lessons meant for your growth. Nothing enters your life without being filtered through the mercy of the one who loves you more than you love yourself. This awareness transforms your reactions. You no longer panic at uncertainties because you know Allah is already aware of them. You don't crumble under pressure because you trust that He never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. You stop feeling helpless because you recognize that divine protection is not passive, it is active, constant, and intimately tailored to you. This shifts your inner dialogue from, what if something goes wrong, to, Allah is with me no matter what happens. And that alone is enough to quiet the loudest fears. Fear fades further when you remind yourself of the countless times Allah has protected you before, reflecting on past moments when a door unexpectedly opened, when help arrived at the perfect time, when a situation resolved in ways you couldn't have planned strengthens your trust in His protection. These memories anchor your heart, reminding you that Allah has never abandoned you and never will. With each recollection, fear loses another layer of influence over you. You become grounded in gratitude, strengthens faith, because it shifts your focus from what is missing in your life to what has already been generously given. Fear grows when you dwell on what you lack, but gratitude grows when you acknowledge the blessings surrounding you. When you practice gratitude, you train your heart to see Allah's mercy in both the obvious and the subtle moments. You begin to notice provisions you once overlooked: your health, your safety, your breath, your ability to think and feel, the people who care for you, the opportunities that continue to unfold. The more you recognize these gifts, the stronger your faith becomes, because you realize that you are constantly being taken care of in countless ways. Gratitude is not just a feeling, it is an act of remembering. It brings you back to the understanding that Allah has never stopped providing for you. Every blessing in your life, big or small, is proof that He is near, attentive, and purposeful in His care for you. This remembrance builds trust. You start to believe deeply that the one who has sustained you through every past moment will continue sustaining you through every future challenge. Gratitude makes your faith rooted, stable, and unwavering, because it is anchored not in wishful thinking, but in lived experience. When you make gratitude a daily habit, fear begins to weaken because your mind no longer magnifies the negatives. Instead, it becomes trained to search for the good, even in difficulties. Gratitude doesn't deny pain or hardship. It simply refuses to let hardship define your entire view of life. It reminds you that even in your struggles, Allah has placed ease lessons and hidden blessings. Perhaps you grew stronger. Perhaps a door closed to protect you. Perhaps you develop patience or clarity. Gratitude helps you see these layers of mercy, allowing faith to deepen and fear to loosen its grip. Gratitude also strengthens faith by humbling the heart. When you acknowledge that every blessing comes from Allah, not your own efforts alone, you develop a deeper reliance on Him. You begin to see success not as personal achievement, but as a gift facilitated by divine guidance. This humility softens the ego and expands the soul. It opens you to receiving even more blessings, because the heart that appreciates is a heart Allah loves to increase. Fear struggles to dominate such a heart, because humility naturally brings surrender, and surrender brings peace. Another way gratitude boosts faith is by reminding you that Allah's mercy far outweighs His tests. For every difficulty you face, there are countless blessings protecting you, supporting you, and uplifting you that you may never even notice. Gratitude uncovers this balance. It shows you that your life is not defined by hardship alone, but by mercy layered upon mercy. This understanding nurtures hope, and where hope grows, fear begins to dissolve. Gratitude strengthens your connection to prayer. When you thank Allah for what you have, your dua becomes more heartfelt and sincere. You speak not from desperation alone, but from a place of appreciation and trust. This transforms your relationship with Allah, making it more intimate and filled with love. As your connection deepens, fear naturally fades, because your heart becomes anchored in certainty, not certainty that life will be perfect, but certainty that Allah will never stop caring for you. Patience is a weapon against fear, because it creates space between your emotions and your actions, allowing your heart to stay steady instead of reacting impulsively to what scares you. Fear often pushes you toward haste, toward assuming the worst, jumping to conclusions, or believing that the difficulty you face will last forever. But patience reminds you that every storm eventually passes, and no hardship remains without purpose or end. When you learn to be patient, you stop allowing fear to dictate your decisions. You give yourself time to breathe, time to reflect, and time to remember that Allah is in control of every detail, even the ones you do not understand yet. Patience is powerful because it teaches you that timing is part of Allah's wisdom. Fear tries to convince you that if something hasn't happened yet, it never will. It feeds anxiety by making you think you're running out of time. But patience breaks this illusion. It realigns your heart with the truth that Allah's timing is always deliberate, precise, and perfect. What you perceive as a delay may actually be divine protection, a preparation phase, or a shift that needs to happen before your blessings arrive. When you embrace patience, fear loses its urgency and your heart becomes calm, trusting that what is meant for you will arrive at the exact moment it is supposed to. Patience also combats fear by grounding you in emotional resilience. Fear grows strongest when your emotions are unstable, when you're overwhelmed, tired, or carrying too much on your heart. But patience builds inner strength. It teaches you to sit with discomfort without letting it consume you. You begin to understand that challenges are not signals of abandonment, but opportunities for growth. You learn to endure moments of uncertainty with dignity and faith, knowing that enduring hardship with patience is not only rewarded by Allah, but also transforms you into a stronger, wiser version of yourself. Fear struggles to survive in a heart that has learned how to endure. Another reason patience is a weapon is because it protects your mind from the chaos of overthinking. Fear loves to exaggerate, to create stories in your head that are far worse than reality. When you are impatient, you fall easily into these mental traps. But when you are patient, you slow down the pace of your thoughts. You stop chasing every fearful idea. You give your heart a chance to reconnect with clarity, with remembrance, with trust. Patience allows you to step back from the noise and listen to the quiet assurance that Allah has promised ease after hardship. This mental stillness weakens fear's influence. Patience also deepens your relationship with Allah. When you are patient, you are essentially choosing to stay close to Him rather than escape into worry. You are choosing to trust His plan rather than demand immediate answers. You are choosing faith even when the path ahead is unclear. This spiritual posture strengthens you from within. It fills you with hope, with endurance, with certainty that Allah sees your struggle and will never let it go to waste. The closer you are to Him, the harder it becomes for fear to overpower you. Through patience, you learn that you do not need all the answers right now. You do not need to know how everything will unfold. You simply need to continue moving forward with calmness, trusting that Allah is guiding your steps and preparing the best possible outcome for you. Dua redirects the heart toward hope because it shifts your emotional energy away from fear and toward the one who holds every solution. Fear thrives when you feel powerless, when you believe you have nowhere to turn and no way to change your situation. But the moment you raise your hands in dua, something shifts inside you. You are no longer alone with your worries. You are speaking directly to the Creator of the universe, the one who has complete authority over outcomes, timing, and possibilities. This act of turning to Allah immediately softens the grip of fear because your heart remembers that you do not carry your burdens by yourself. Dua brings hope because it gives your pain a direction. Instead of letting your worries circulate endlessly in your mind, you release them to the one who can transform them. Fear traps you inside your thoughts, but dua lifts you out of them. It turns your inner world from a place of panic to a place of surrender. When you express your needs, your fears, your confusion, and your desires to Allah, you acknowledge that He is the one who can make the impossible possible. Even before the dua is answered, hope begins to rise simply from knowing that Allah hears every whisper and responds in ways far greater than you can imagine. Dua redirects your heart toward hope because it connects you to divine mercy. Allah has promised that He is near to the caller, that no sincere dua goes unheard, and that He answers in the best way for you. This assurance becomes a source of comfort that fear cannot pierce. When you make dua regularly, you train your heart to rely on Allah rather than your anxieties. You begin to trust that every prayer is recorded, every tear is counted, And every moment of struggle is known by the one who is closer to you than your own soul. Fear no longer feels overwhelming because your heart rests in the certainty of divine compassion. Another reason dua redirects the heart toward hope is because it elevates your perspective. Fear focuses your attention on what is going wrong, what might fail, or what could hurt you. Dua shifts your focus toward possibilities, toward what Allah can open, heal, restore, and transform. You start to realize that your situation is not confined to human limitations. You are dealing with the Lord of all worlds. This realization widens your vision. It reminds you that every difficulty carries ease, every closed door has an alternate path, and every hardship is paired with divine wisdom. Through dua, hope begins to outshine fear. Dua also brings hope by reminding you that your voice matters to Allah. No matter how small your request, how broken your heart feels, or how heavy your worries are, every dua is significant. This is one of the most empowering truths in faith you are heard. Your concerns are never dismissed or overlooked. Knowing this gives your heart a sense of worth and stability that fear cannot take away. You begin to walk through life with the quiet confidence that there is always a place to turn, always a way to seek help, always a path to healing. As dua becomes a regular part of your life, hope becomes your natural default. Fear may still appear, but it no longer controls your direction. Your heart knows where to turn, who to trust, and where true relief comes from. Tawakkul empowers bold decisions because it frees you from the fear of failure by anchoring your heart in the certainty that Allah is guiding your steps. When you practice true tawakkul, you recognize that your responsibility is to make sincere effort, while the outcome belongs entirely to Allah. This understanding removes much of the hesitation that fear creates. Instead of getting stuck in endless worry, wondering what might go wrong, you move forward with confidence, knowing that Allah will never let your efforts go to waste. Tawakkul gives you permission to try, to grow, and to take risks that once felt too overwhelming. One of the reasons tawakkul strengthens your ability to act boldly is because it reduces the pressure of perfection. Fear often stems from the belief that you must get everything right. That one mistake could ruin your chances. But tawakkul reminds you that success does not come from your perfection, it comes from Allah's mercy. You are not expected to control every variable. You are expected to try your best and trust His plan. This mindset releases you from the tight grip of anxiety and opens the door to courageous, intentional action. You start to take steps that once felt too heavy because you know that Allah sees your effort and will guide your path accordingly. Tawakkul also empowers bold decisions by changing the way you interpret obstacles. Without faith, challenges may look like signs that you should give up. Fear convinces you that difficulty is a warning, a signal to retreat. But tawakkul teaches you to see obstacles as part of the journey, not the end of it. You understand that Allah sometimes places barriers in your path to redirect you, strengthen you, or delay something until the timing is perfect. This perspective gives you resilience. You don't crumble at the first sign of difficulty. Instead, you adjust, adapt, and continue forward, trusting that Allah's wisdom is greater than your immediate understanding. Another way tawakkul inspires boldness is by grounding you in the belief that what is written for you will reach you no matter what. Fear often makes you afraid of missing out, fear of losing opportunities, fear of making the wrong choice, fear of being left behind. But tawakkul eliminates this scarcity mindset. You begin to understand that nothing meant for you can pass you by, and nothing not meant for you can ever be forced into your life. This truth gives you courage to make decisions without being paralyzed by what ifs. You trust that Allah is protecting you from what is harmful and guiding you toward what is beneficial, even if it arrives in unexpected ways. Tawakkul empowers bold decisions because it strengthens your connection to action. It's not passive trust, it's trust paired with effort. You work, plan, dream, and move with purpose because you believe Allah is with you in every step. This combination of effort and reliance becomes a powerful driving force. You no longer act out of desperation or fear, but out of conviction and faith. Your decisions become clearer, your goals become more intentional, and your steps become more courageous. You start to pursue what matters with a heart that is both fearless and deeply grounded in reliance on Allah. With tawakkul, you learn to step forward even when the path is not fully visible. You trust that Allah will illuminate the way as you move. Faith creates confidence in God's plan because it shifts your heart from relying solely on your limited understanding to trusting the infinite wisdom of Allah. When you truly believe that Allah sees the full picture, past, present, and future, your fears lose their power. You begin to walk through life with a steadiness that does not depend on everything going your way, but on knowing that whatever happens is designed with divine precision. This confidence becomes an inner anchor, keeping you calm even when circumstances seem uncertain or challenging. You stop feeling overwhelmed by what you can't control because you trust the one who controls everything. Confidence grows when you understand that Allah's plan is not just good, it is perfect. What may feel like a setback is often protection. What looks like a delay may be preparation. What appears as a closed door might be redirecting you to something far better. Faith helps you interpret life through this deeper lens. You no longer panic when things don't unfold according to your expectations. Instead, you pause, breathe, and remind yourself that Allah does not make mistakes. This mindset dissolves fear because it replaces the question, why is this happening to me, with what wisdom might Allah be placing in my path right now? Faith builds confidence by reminding you that you are never alone on your journey. Allah is with you in every moment, guiding your steps, strengthening your heart, and carrying you through challenges you may not even recognize. When you internalize this companionship, you walk with a quiet assurance. Even when life feels heavy, you trust that Allah is closer than your worries, more powerful than your obstacles, and more compassionate than your fears. This awareness makes you braver. You take steps you once avoided because you trust that Allah will catch you if you stumble and lift you higher if you persevere. Another reason faith creates confidence is because it frees you from the illusion that you need to have everything figured out. Confidence does not come from knowing the details of the future. It comes from trusting the one who has already written it. When you stop needing control over every outcome, you gain a greater sense of peace. You understand that whatever has been decreed for you will arrive effortlessly, and whatever is not meant for you will pass by without causing harm. This truth makes your decisions clearer, your actions more intentional, and your steps more grounded. Faith also strengthens confidence by helping you reflect on the past. When you look back at your life, you can see moments when things seemed uncertain but ended up working out in ways better than you expected. You remember times you worried, only to later realize Allah had already arranged everything for your benefit. These memories are not random, they are reminders. They teach you that Allah has always been orchestrating your journey with care. Each reflection becomes evidence that you can trust Him again today. This reflection transforms fear into certainty. Finally, faith creates confidence because it focuses your heart on Allah's promises. He promises relief after hardship, strength for the patient, reward for those who trust Him, and peace for those who remember Him. These promises are not empty. They are guarantees from the one whose word is truth. When you hold on to these promises, negative thoughts lose their influence. You carry yourself with dignity, hope, and courage because you know that Allah's plan is not only unfolding, it is unfolding beautifully in ways beyond your imagination.